This assembly will come to order. Please remain standing if you are able. Hamilton College recognizes our collective responsibility to acknowledge our colonial history. Our campus is located on the ancestral and traditional land of the United Nations. We express gratitude for the relationship between Chief Shenandoah and Samuel Kirkland, who founded the Hamilton Oneida Academy to educate Indigenous and settler youth together. That institution became Hamilton College. Today, the Hamilton College community commits itself to engaging in solidarity with the Oneida Nation and to ensuring that the perspectives and cultures of Indigenous peoples are honored and embraced. It is now my pleasure to introduce the new college rabbi and Hillel director, Ethan Baer, who will deliver the invocation. A graduate of Oberlin College and Hebrew Union College, he comes most recently from serving as rabbi at Temple Beth Shalom in Miami Beach.
Blessed are you, Yah, our God, author of the universe, for giving us life, sustaining us, and allowing us to arrive at this season. These are the words we say in my religious tradition of Judaism to sanctify new moments. I invite each of you to take a deep breath, close your eyes if you want, and use your own language to express gratitude and set an intention for this new year. This moment is full of potential. We pray for wisdom and understanding, for good judgment and acceptance, for grit, for growth, and for change. We pray for strength and flexibility. We pray for patience, for resilience, and for health of body, mind, and spirit, especially in this time of pandemic, which has become a marathon rather than a sprint. A slightly different version of the Hamilton motto, "Know thyself," appears in the book of Leviticus in the Hebrew Bible, which says, "Do not hide yourself." This year, may we never feel the need to hide any aspect of our true selves. We ask for the courage to show up fully as ourselves in order to learn from one another, to see each other, and build a just and peaceful world. In this new year, we pray that we will have the vision and tenacity to build a microcosm of the world as it ought to be, right here on the hill. We pray today as if everything depends on God, and we act in the world as if everything depends on us.
This really is fun. It's been so long. Okay, we will now hear from the chair of the Honor Court, Julio Dem, class of 2023.
Hello, everyone. Most of you know me. I'm Julio Dem. I'm the Honor Court Chair. In a few moments, members of the Honor Court will be handing out pens and copies of the Honor Code for you to sign. Before you do, I'd like to take a moment to talk about why the Honor Code is such an important part of our academic culture here at Hamilton. We all come from different places, but we share this common destination, Hamilton College. We come from different schools and different communities with different academic rules and standards. Whatever relationship you've developed with these rules along your road to Hamilton, you might have the same questions. How is the Honor Code different from what came before? Why should it affect your decisions? You will find your own answers to these questions during your time here. But today, I'll give you mine. The Honor Code is different because every one of us chooses to be here. For many of us, this is the first time in our academic journey where this is true. Some of us have more choice than others, but we all have a choice. And if anyone got lost and is here by accident, there's like 6 exits, so I'm sure you can find one of them. We'll give you a minute. All right, so if anyone hadn't yet made their choice, they just did now. Congratulations, because when we choose Hamilton College, We also choose the honor code. It was not forced upon us. It was created and is overseen by Hamilton students. Including myself, 8 of the 11 honor court members are students. Some of you will be part of those 8 over the next 4 years. One of you will stand where I am standing today, and you will welcome the class of 2027 or 2028. And you'll tell them, as I'll tell you now, that the honor code is special because of you, because each and every one of you has chosen it. And it's not a policy, and it's not a rule book, but it's a commitment. And it's a commitment that we make, again, when we sign the honor code. It's not a commitment to the administration. It's certainly not a commitment to me. But it's a commitment to each other, to our classmates, and to ourselves, that we will carry ourselves with integrity, that we will honor the trust of our professors, and the tremendous privilege of a Hamilton education. Thank you. I'll now ask that students sign their copies of the honor code. I think we do not have enough pens to go around, so once you've signed, please hand them off. And once you've signed, pass the code down the aisle. So the person to the furthest on the aisle should have the code. And you guys can start collecting them.
Can I have your pen when you're done with it?
I think we might be ready to proceed. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce the 20th President of Hamilton College, David Wippman.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Today marks the official start of Hamilton's 210th year, and members of the class of 2025, it is the official start of your first year. After hearing some of your orientation stories, I have to say I'm delighted, but a little surprised that you all made it. Every year when we send the entering class into the community and into the wilderness on their orientation adventures, I worry a little bit. This year we fielded a record 67 trips with 134 trip leaders, pretty much every van in the tri-state area, and enough trail mix to fill the Route Glen. And every year as I watch hundreds of students head out to go kayaking, canoeing, rock climbing, mountaineering, biking, and exploring, many in remote areas with little or no cell service, which unfortunately does little to distinguish them from my house, I think, what could possibly go wrong? All right, I'm just kidding. I don't really think that. We already know what can go wrong. We've been doing these trips for 23 years. Bears, bugs, rain, storms, capsized canoes, heat, humidity, axes swung in ways that axes really weren't meant to be swung, more rain, vans running into inconveniently placed trees. And this year, in what is a first in Hamilton orientation trip history, a group of enterprising students managed to navigate their canoe over a waterfall. To boldly go where no students have ever gone before, but they were uninjured. So hey, who says Gen Z is not resilient? Now, for 18 months, the world has been struggling with the worst pandemic in 100 years. In March 2020, we sent everyone home for spring break, and then we had to finish the semester remotely. Last year, we invited everyone back, but with all kinds of restrictions. And this year, well, that script is still being written. So far, we have tested on campus 3,382 students and employees. You've all been tested twice. And we have had 2 positives, 2 students, both fully vaccinated, both asymptomatic, right at the very beginning of our testing. We've also had some employee cases who've tested positive off campus. But by and large, it's been a terrific start. And I'm optimistic with all of us, or almost all of us fully vaccinated, that we can have a terrific year. Whether that optimism proves well-founded will depend in significant part on you. We're not out of the COVID woods yet, so when you are asked to test, test. When you're asked to mask, mask. When you're off campus, where you likely won't know the vaccination status of people around you, please exercise extra caution. We want to keep our restrictions to a minimum, and you can help us do that. You also come to this campus at a moment of extraordinary political polarization. The country's divergent response to the COVID vaccines is just the latest example. While a majority of Americans have gotten at least 1 shot, millions remain unvaccinated, despite an ongoing pandemic that has already killed more than 600,000 Americans. Some people, afraid of COVID but mistrustful of the vaccines, have taken to trying alternatives. These are alternatives that are not worth trying. One is ivermectin. It's the drug normally used to treat worms and other parasites in animals. So many people have been taking it that the FDA sent a tweet this weekend saying, and I quote, "You are not a horse. You are not a cow. Seriously, stop it." Thank you, Food and Drug Administration. It's tempting to dismiss the vaccine hesitant as uneducated and uninformed. Some of them are. But many of them have concerns that, even if misplaced, warrant a genuine effort to understand and address. And even if you don't persuade them, maybe you'll learn something in the process. If we as a society can't agree on something like the safety and efficacy of a vaccine, imagine how we fare on more complicated issues, whether that's immigration, climate change, racial justice, or the 2020 presidential election, just to name a few. Unfortunately, we don't really have to use our imagination. We already know, just read the news. We are a society that is deeply divided and growing more so. Many of us live in information bubbles. We talk only to those who think as we do. We read selectively. We look at websites that curate information for us in ways that fit our pre-existing beliefs. And we dismiss evidence that's inconsistent with our current judgments. Worse, we shun those who think differently. I want to tell you that's a deeply illiberal response. Not illiberal in the political sense, but in the academic sense. Hamilton's educational goals, as adopted by the faculty, make this clear. The first goal encourages you, among other things, to examine facts, phenomena, and issues in depth and from a variety of perspectives. And it asks you to have the courage to revise beliefs and outlooks in light of new evidence. You can't do that if you don't engage with views and perspectives that are different from your own. I know this sounds easy, but it's not. And some people will actively try to prevent you from hearing a full range of opinions. Conservative activist groups have for years monitored college classrooms, looking for and publicizing instances of perceived liberal bias. This has periodically triggered what has been called the right-wing outrage machine. More recently, conservative legislators have been introducing legislation in many states to restrict or ban the teaching of critical race theory and so-called divisive concepts in an effort to suppress a progressive anti-racist agenda. On the other side, efforts to constrain unfettered campus take a different form. Sometimes it involves disinviting or shouting down speakers, something not tolerated here. Sometimes it involves suppressing conservative viewpoints through ostracization or social media mobbing. According to a recent poll, students often self-censor on hot-button topics. The poll says that roughly 31% of campus Democrats and 48% of campus Republicans are reluctant to speak their minds for fear of being harshly judged by their peers. And yet, as Jonathan Rauch points out in a new book called The Constitution of Knowledge, students by large majorities want to hear a wide range of viewpoints. Sometimes a small but vocal minority, what Rauch calls the tyranny of the few, comes to dominate campus discourse. That shouldn't happen, and it won't happen if you don't let it. Part of your education here lies precisely in exploring new ideas and new ways of thinking, and in getting to know people with different backgrounds, identities, and perspectives. Doing so will not be without friction, it will not always be easy, and it will not always be comfortable. But easy and comfortable are not part of our educational mission. Intellectual, social, and moral development are, and they occur more readily when we confront new ideas and consider other perspectives. You have 4 wonderful years ahead of you, years full of learning and growth and friendships. I encourage you to make the most of them. Welcome to Hamilton College. I'd like to ask the Dean of the Faculty, Suzanne Keene, to join me at the podium.
Could we please have the honor cards brought up, Julian?
On behalf of the class of 2025, I present the signed copies of the honor code.
Thank you. That's a heavy box.
I am pleased to accept these signed honor cards from you. As a member of the faculty and their dean, I serve in this ceremony as the representative of academic integrity that stands as a central ideal of Hamilton College. Though it is ceremonial, this rite is not an empty gesture. It marks with meaning your entrance into a community of trust. You enter into your Hamilton College education so that you may know yourself, be who you are, and find your future. These promises are actually tasks that you will undertake over the next 4 years. At Hamilton, you will demonstrate by your words and deeds whether our cherished virtues of honesty, inclusiveness, mutual respect, and thoughtfulness will be animated through your actions into something more than a parade of attractive abstractions that we bring out for ceremonial occasions. You will make them real by practicing them here, and that may entail changes from what you've understood to be normal in high school. You will not search online for solutions to problems that your faculty have set you, because that would rob yourself of the opportunity to learn. You won't share your instructor's solutions, because that tempts others to skip over the learning process. You won't copy the choreography of a music video or a Broadway show, or use Google Translate, or recycle your own work without permission and acknowledgement. College-level adult expectations for academic integrity start fresh now. I'm going to give you some pointers in these brief remarks about how to adhere to the pledge that you have just made. But I am also going to emphasize that your commitment to integrity also contributes to your role in creating a more just and equitable society. If, as I hope, you choose to live the virtues associated with a liberally educated person, I trust that you will discover for yourselves what Aristotle tells us about virtues as a general category. The philosopher reminds us that virtues are not simply a matter of personal attainment, lovely adjectives to be described by. He describes virtue and justice as versions of the same phenomenon, two sides of the same coin. Considered in relation to somebody else, Aristotle writes, is justice. When considered simply as a kind of moral state, is virtue. That is, when we put our virtues into action through our words and deeds, we arrive inevitably at justice. So how does this work? It starts with spoken words, and it relies on individual integrity. Every time we speak, we enact in a simple daily practice our respect for others, for all others. The path from this to justice is not difficult to follow. Simply giving your attention to others involves you in habits of responsibility and recognition that broaden your world as they tether you more tightly to a known community, the context in which you will win the esteem of both faculty and new friends. We do this work with our words. From the day we are born, we live inside a medium of language. By the time we are 24 months old, most of us are engaged in shaping our reality with the words we speak. So it matters which words we choose when we describe ourselves and our aspirations, when we greet or characterize others, when we say who we are and where we want to go. Once we've learned to read, we cannot give up our literacy. Our creation myths and our senses of self both begin with words, or even the word, logos. Those of you with some Greek will know that although we conventionally translate that word as word, logos also means saying, speech, discourse, thought, proportion, ratio, account, and reason, practically a map of the fundamental liberal arts. We do not often step outside the reach of logos. Our words are deeds. The faculty will ask many things of you, and the very first one was a deed committed in words with your signature. By pledging your word of honor with your signature, you have joined a community of trust. I receive these cards on behalf of a faculty who are guided by similar professional codes of conduct in their teaching and their scholarship, research, and creative lives. The most visible sign of our commitment to academic integrity are citation styles, those systems called Chicago style, APA, MLA style, among others. You will learn to use more than one of these styles with facility, and here's a pro tip: ask your faculty member which citation style to use if it isn't specified in a writing assignment. All subjects taught here require original work, so you won't plagiarize. Using citation properly not only announces to your reader, "Behold this honest work," but it does something more generous, something that extends beyond a badge of honor worn by an individual of integrity. Citation shows the next reader where to find what you found. It allows others to retrace your steps. It is a form of sharing, the fundamental virtue of living in a community. For academic integrity means not only documenting your sources, it also means opening yourself up to others' different interpretations of those sources. It says, I am willing to hear your alternative view on the matter. I'm willing to show you why I have come to my conclusions. Let's compare our evidence. In a community of integrity, it does not harm our own points of view and positions to entertain alternatives. We know that we do not make false claims ourselves, and we believe that others adhere to the same high standard. Of course, we warn each other when fake news goes viral. There are statements that we must denounce for their malicious intentions. But in the regular give and take of discussion, exploration, interpretation of results, of discovery, our individual pledges of integrity draw a proud line around our boundaries. Hamilton College is an honest place. They also mark out a zone where we can create common ground. Out of differences come the rigorous discussions that give rise to understanding. This is not a search for or a capitulation to a prefab set of right answers. Your pledge of academic integrity marks your commitment to a community where our distinctions and differences, our identities and perspectives become our shared resources. Joining this community symbolically located on a hill, placed here in the first generation of our nation's founding, reminds us that Americans have frequently seen themselves as exceptional and separate, bound together by oaths and pledges that exclude a world that disagrees with them. This is not our way. We cherish our freedoms of speech and press. We rely on integrity and care to govern and curb our language. Once we recall that we have committed ourselves to principles of inclusiveness and respect for others, it should be clear that community standards are violated if and when words bring harm. But we take on the responsibility of meeting unacceptable speech with more speech, rather than prohibiting the expression of ideas that we find threatening or unpleasant. During the course of your education, you will be exposed to ideas that you dislike, and we won't try to shelter you from those challenges. Indeed, when Hamilton College was young, the new nation had just committed itself to a free press, to free speech, and to freedom of assembly. The founders placed their trust in arguments and demonstrations. They gave up the ideas of separatism and religious tests that had drawn many of their great-grandparents to this continent. American democracy was far from perfect then, and it is far from perfect now, but it is constructed to sustain itself through the peaceable arguments of the people. As a result of those disputes, today we draw the lines of community much more inclusively than the founders could have imagined, as we attempt to understand and repair the damage of exclusion. At Hamilton College, all are invited to participate in argument and contestation, in the testing of alternatives, in conversation and experiment that are the warp and weft of our democracy. We have come a long way from the humble cards vouching for your intention to do original and honest work, your individual promises. You are already internalizing a sense of personal integrity that will be a permanent aspect of your character. By accepting these cards from you, I welcome you into a community where together we will challenge one another, care about one another, and as the foundation for the work we do together, hold one another to the high standards of mutual trust. Thank you. On behalf of President Wippman, I now invite Vice President and Dean of Students Terry Martinez to come to the podium.
President Wippman, Dean King, distinguished faculty, and fellow colleagues, welcome again to the newest members of our student body, and to those who are returning, welcome back. I've had the pleasure of being in front of our new students on at least 2 occasions this past week. and I am thrilled to see our returning students in the audience. As I was thinking about my remarks for today, I tried to identify the 3 things that mean the most to me for your experience this year, and because I like things in groups of 3 rather than just 2. We already have noted the challenges you've faced, the challenges we've all faced to get to this moment. And while it is important that we fully acknowledge the loss of connection, community, and especially the loss of human lives in our circles, it is also important that we acknowledge our individual persistence to adapt and adjust to so many changes and still have achieved some of our goals. There has been much pivoting over the last year and a half, and we've had to live in what Kathy Caprina wrote in an article in Forbes that I read today entitled, "How a Flux Mindset Helps You Thrive Through Constant Change." In that piece, she writes about the many unexpected and sudden turns we've needed to make to stay afloat emotionally. I've heard the word pivot as much as I've heard the word unprecedented this past year. As we continue to navigate through the unknown, we should look back to identify those things that have allowed each of us to continue to propel ourselves. What the author describes as our ability to see the changes as an opportunity to find silver linings when we need to make change. It is a way to set yourself up to be successful and to focus on the things that matter most. And while those things may be different for each individual, I hope you can identify for yourself the things that are most important to you. So, the first important thing is to remember that you've already faced some pretty big challenges and you've experienced success in challenging moments. I hope you remind yourself of that when you face the next unexpected change, which will inevitably come. The second thing I hope for you all is that you find ways to build community because it matters so much to our well-being. The effects of the pandemic, quarantines, and isolation have been acutely felt. We are social creatures, and it is our instinct to find connections with others. There have been many studies in what is known as the blue zones. Residents of the blue zones live in different parts of the world, but they have 9 commonalities that lead to longer, healthier, and happier lives. These 9 commonalities fall into 4 different categories, but to oversimplify, these categories are diet, exercise, purpose, and community. Community well-being is a pretty powerful thing. Health and happiness are inextricably linked to our connections and our sense of belonging, and you have the opportunity to build your community unlike any other moment ahead of you. Communities take care of their members, demonstrate compassion toward each other, embrace conflict and the learning that occurs from appreciating multiple points of view, and extending a welcome to others and assuming good intent. You can do these things by thinking about the impact of your behaviors on others, by investing time and energy in encouraging others and letting others know you support them. An email of gratitude, a note of support, bringing a cookie to a friend who's focused on writing a paper, or a faculty member who has spent additional time with you in explaining a concept, picking up a piece of trash as several other people walk by it. These all matter. You have the ability and the power to impact your community. The third and final thing I hope for you all is that while you are here, that you remain present. Thinking about and planning your future is certainly important, but utilizing your days on the Hill as an opportunity for growth, a way to challenge yourself and cultivate experiences rather than accumulating a list or checking boxes. It's a good time to ask questions and seek answers. Instead of asking your faculty member if this will be on the test, ask yourself instead, why is this important? You see, how you show up here matters now more than ever, and there are countless opportunities to engage in real ways this year to address some of our biggest issues: health, safety, racism, classism, homophobia. The list goes on, and I hope you will make space not only to engage in discussions, but to work with others in creating solutions. While you are here, be here. Engage in challenging discussions, take advantage of every new opportunity, reflect on the things you value, and be sure to include them in your daily lives. Don't squander integrity, goodwill, opportunity, or love. Focusing on those values will bring you tremendous satisfaction. Ultimately, you are responsible for yourself and for this community, and I hope you take that seriously. So to each of you, I wish you a great year. Please be sure to take care of yourself and each other. Thank you. I now invite Associate Dean Penny Yee to the podium.
Good afternoon. It's part of our Convocation tradition to award a number of scholarships and prizes, the descriptions of which are in your program. I will announce the names of all the award winners and ask them to stand. The awards will be presented by group as they appear in your program. If you're a winner of an award, please stand and remain standing until the next award is announced. I ask that everyone please hold their applause until the end of each group. I'll begin by recognizing the recipients of the prize scholarships. The Benjamin Walworth Arnold Prize Scholarship, Cassandra Adler, Christopher Inkioff, Carmen Moses. The Robert A. Bankert Jr. Prize Scholarship, Nicholas Hawkins. The Captain Gerald Fitzgerald Dale Senior Scholarship, Bryce Fabrez. The Charles A. Dana Prize Scholarship, Christina Kaywood, Chloe Kyoto, Logan Green, Christian Hernandez Barragan, Alyssa Mandrasina, Jessica Parsons, Oliver Stevens, Emily Weinstein, Yu Yang. The Donald A. Hamilton Prize Scholarship, Riley Mutton. The Ann Miller Hardin Prize Scholarship, Claire Harpel. The Matthew Houlihan Prize Scholarship, Shelby McVeigh. The Edward Huntington Memorial Mathematical Prize Scholarship, Anthony Christiana. The Grant 21 and Silas 52 Keene Prize Scholarship, Christian Hernandez Barragan, Jorge Perez Vasquez. The Willard Bostwick Marsh Prize Scholarship, Brendan McGill, Sana Salimi. The Marcel Morad Memorial Prize Scholarship, Maddie Wallace. The Oren Jr. Root Prize Scholarship, Zihan Chai, Awildo Gutierrez, Brendan McGill, Lara Spear. The Arthur W. Soper Prize Scholarship in Latin, Claire Liss. The Chauncey S. Truax Prize Scholarship in Greek, Jacob Hain. The Vrooman Prize Scholarship, Eileen Cohn. The Lawrence K. Uerty Prize Scholarship, Miriam Lerner. Let's congratulate our prize scholarship winners. You
can sit down now. Thank you. Now we will recognize the winners of achievement prizes. The Brockway Prize, Caroline Freundel. The Class of 1990 Scholarship, Natalia Reboredo, Emil Vasquez Mejia. The CRC Press First Year Prize in Chemistry, Chloe Kyoda, Olivia Kyoda. The Dr. Edward Fitch Prize in Greek, Tonwa Hauf. The Edward Fitch Prize in Latin, Emma Earls. The Leo Macta Prize in Physics, Matthew Diaguardi. The Phi Beta Kappa Book Prize, Cassandra Adler, Sabrina Broderick, Chloe Kyoda, Olivia Kyoda, Caroline Freundel, Sierra Gutau, Olivia Otsuka, Erica Plant, Chloe Skane, Oliver Stevens, Hongyu Zhang. The Rusty Smith Memorial Teaching Prize in Computer Science, Kenneth Tallarico. The Linda Aquastrobel Memorial Teaching Prize in Mathematics, Madison Lapointe. The Winslow Prize in Greek, Megan Magaro. The Winslow Prize in Latin, Dana Gettler. The Winslow Prize in Romance Languages, French, Eliza Jones. The Winslow Prize in Romance Languages, Hispanic Studies, Lucy Kiernat. Please congratulate our Achievement Prize winners. Now let us acknowledge our Writing Prize recipients. The Hutton Essay Prize, Isabella Roselli. The Dwight N. Lindley Prize, Chen Chung Lee, Helen Ziobrowski. The Alfred J. and A. Barrett Seaman Prizes in Writing, Jenna Cosby, Anna Edelson, Jason Lee, Evan Robinson, R.J. Steele. Please congratulate our Writing Prize winners. And once again, congratulations to all of this year's award winners.
Please rise if you are able. We will conclude this assembly by listening to the Hamilton College Choir sing Carissima. You can read the words along on the back of your program. remain in your places until after the procession has left the auditorium. Everyone is invited to the Convocation picnic, which is on the Dunham Green. This marks the end of this occasion and the beginning of Hamilton College's 210th year. This assembly is adjourned.